Well, thank you very much for the photo again. And I'm going to hand over now to Maria-Teresa, and I'll just take a back seat for a while the conversation and discussion flow, and then I'll come back later on to moderate the questions. So thank you very much. Maria-Teresa, over to you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thanks, Seven, for hosting us and PhotoWings. I was thinking today, we've been having these talks, conversation, research in a way on the theme of visualizing climate change for 4 years now. The last series, which is the one we're having at this moment, today is the fourth of the series, and it's called Visualizing the Climate Crisis, and we'll talk about deforestation. What we're trying to do is exploring the role of contemporary photography and how they can work with different disciplines in order to address the multi-layered and complex theme of climate change. We usually invite photojournalists and documentary photographers, which every time they are joined by a professional representing a different discipline. We've been talking with scientists, policymakers, educators, social innovators, artistic directors. So we decided to focus on specific topics because we feel it's more concrete, can feel more concrete to people at this point of the conversation about climate change, rather than having this wide conversation in general about climate crisis, because it's easier to connect when we talk about a specific approach. And we try to understand in which ways photography can go beyond photography, involve the masses, and with a transdisciplinary approach, we want to expand the reach, involve the large public, and move people from inspiration or fear into taking action. This series is organized by Everything is Connected, of which I'm a director and founder, UAL, University of the Arts London, and Seven Insider PhotoWings. We've talked in the past about ocean acidification, virtual water, the fashion system, and today we'll talk about deforestation. I'm very pleased to have today on board Rafael Alves, which is a documentary photographer, and Luis Fedotov Clements, which is an artistic director and social innovator, because she also works with, she will tell us more about her effort to go beyond also photography. And I will start with the good news. The good news is of a few days ago is that of deforestation apparently in Brazil's Amazon rainforest. In 2023, apparently has halved from the previous years, and apparently is the lowest since 2018. Why we talk about the Amazon so much? When we think about deforestation, often we see videos and projects, photography projects as well, about the Amazon, why it's so important for the rest of the world and for locals as well. Because apart being such a source for food, wood, medicines, also helps stabilize the global climate, because is considered that 150 to 200 billion tons of carbon is stored in the Amazon rainforest. So the trees in the Amazon release 20 billion tons of water into the atmosphere per day, obviously playing a critical role in the global and regional carbon and white cycles. So practically, we cannot tackle the climate crisis without the Amazon's vital life sustaining role. So when we talk about deforestation, obviously, we also, cutting trees is always happened and is not something that is necessarily something bad, but we mostly, when we talk about an issue, we talk about the illegal deforestation. So deforestation, when we talk about deforestation, we mean clearing and cutting forest lands primarily for commercial and agricultural reasons. So we in the past, apparently about 2,000 years ago, 80% of the Western Europe was forested. Today is about 35%. And Today, most of the deforestation happens in tropical regions like the Amazon, the Congo Basin, and the Southeast Asia. And some of the reasons why for cutting trees are related to justifying road construction into regions that usually don't have access to roads and other places. So building or upgrading roads into forest makes some people accessible to roads, and also it makes this more accessible for exploitation. And this means that this is a major contributor to the deforestation in the tropics. According to a report from WWF, the EU is the second biggest importer of deforestation after China. So, and most of the products related to deforestation are soy, palm oil, beef, and commodities with the largest embedded deforestation imported by the EU are also wood products, cocoa, and coffee. So if we think that, and mostly, apparently, some of the largest economies in the EU, which are Germany, Italy, Spain, the UK, the Netherlands, etc., are responsible for kind of 80% of the deforestation happening in the Amazon. So obviously, this has a significant implication in the biodiversity, in climate change, and also in the communities, local communities. So the reason why I wanted to set this kind of context before giving the words to our guest is that, Rafael comes from Manaus, which is in the center of where this topic is happening, is like, it's important to understand in which ways we can actually talk about a connection between Europe and where the problem happens, and in what ways we could photography and communication can have actually an impact and really telling the whole story and what is the kind of message we should be telling to people. So thank you very much. I will start with Rafael. Thank you for joining us today. Would you tell us a little bit about what you do, where you come from, your work, your research, and the knowledge about forest and deforestation is, of course, is different from other photographers living in the other side of the world. So how this living there is being impacted on your interest and knowledge from your point of view, personal and professional point of view, kind of we consider an insider. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, everyone who's watching. Thank you very much, Professor Lowe. It's a great honor to be here and speak about my region. So I have been working as a photographer in Manaus. I'm based in Manaus. It's the biggest city in the Brazilian Amazon, with around 2 million and 200,000 people living here. And I currently work with national and regional media and international, also with agencies. For the everyday projects too, I work here with them. And although I have worked sometimes outside the region, I'd say that 99% of my work is here. It's what I want to talk about. And as I've been born here in the region, I was born and raised here, I have this deep interest and curiosity about this region because it's very unexplored yet. It's 92% coverage of forests still in the Amazonas state. There's a confusion sometimes with the Amazon region and the Amazonas state. Amazonas state is the biggest state in Brazil, and 92% of it is covered by the Amazonian rainforest. With all the time working as a photographer and studying photography too, I started to understand that what I was doing in the beginning, first we start as a photographer, you work for newspapers, local newspapers, and then you start feeling that your work has specific point of interest. And I think that my work has led me to seek what is the role of the human being in between the urban space and the forest. This is a very strong aspect of the region, in my opinion. For example, I live in Manaus, and Manaus is the biggest city in Brazilian Amazon, but it's the least forested capital in Brazil. Also, the city was built in the meeting of two of the most powerful rivers here, Amazon and Negro, and we don't have a good sanitation, we don't have a good water service. So all these aspects of the forest, of the whole biome, the trees, the water, the rain cycle, that's very interesting. And also, how do we behave accordingly to that? I see sometimes that Manaus, for example, as the biggest city, the place where I live, has turned its backs to the forest and to the rivers. So this has been everything that I've been questioning myself. And with all that work that I've been trying to do, I think what I want to do is to invite people to ask questions with me too. So what's happening here? How does it affect us? But not only us, how does it affect the whole world? Because we always say, oh, we have to send a message from the Amazon to the rest of the world. Yes, but people here sometimes don't behave like insiders too. So they also have to hear that message. And what is this message? What can we do with photography? How can we join each other to make this message get to the people who need to know it?
Thank you, Rafael. It's very interesting the point of how we talk with the local people in the Amazon. What is the message for them? And yeah, it opens a lot of questions around there. Thank you very much. Hi, Louise. Thanks for joining us today. Could you tell us a little bit about what your work as an artistic director and your involvement and role with Forestry England, and also your effort in the past years in trying to expand photography beyond the traditional reach, which, you know, in our world is photography exhibitions, festival publications. So tell us a little bit what you do. Thank you.
Sure, wonderful. Really, really great here to be. Really great to be here together with everybody. Yeah, so I have been curating since '98, and I started off as I meant to carry on. I studied in Bretton Hall, which is embedded within Yorkshire Sculpture Park. It no longer exists, but I started my kind of studies in a natural environment, and started curating in non-gallery spaces straight away, and inspired by entities like Munster Sculpture Projects and so on, and set up my own organization initially to do site-specific projects and exchanges between artists, and often that took us to ex-industrial spaces like iron forge factory complexes, through to forests and 25 kilometers of cave network in Germany, all sorts of interesting spaces. I then went on to work in Derby and work at what was formerly known as Q Arts, and then went on to be Quad. So we created the new building, and I was there for 20 years. I started there in 2002, and we worked with contemporary art and new media, so installations, working with sound, but mostly commissioning artists and supporting residencies. And we would invite and involve residencies with artists from all over the world and across the UK as well, to interact with our in our studio space, but also to go out into natural spaces, be it forests or different landscapes, to engage and create their work and intersect with audiences. So in terms of kind of like grounding and intersecting between culture, creativity, developing opportunities for artists to talk about their work and share and understand the impact of how art can make a difference in people's lives. And you know, we've been testing and trying that in so many different ways, in buildings as well as spaces out in the public realm and in nature as well. And in 2004, I established a Format Festival, co-founded with Mike Brown, and I directed that up until 2022, and I still support Format. And then after 2022, I went into the forest, so I became the most incredible and unique, wonderful job in the world, I think. One of the most amazing jobs. I grew up in the New Forest. I'm a forest inducted person, but you know, working for Forestry England was absolutely eye-opening and fantastic, and was the National Curator of Contemporary Art full-time there for almost 2 years. I've got a few hours left working away and collaborating on projects like Earth Photo, which is still live, so do get your applications in, photographers who might be interested. Earthphoto.world, but I'll share more about that later. And Hazel Stone is the full-time curator there now. We work together to support the programme. But Forestry England is a fascinating organisation. I was really very grateful to understand it from the inside, and to be part of an organisation that's really proactively supporting and working forward for our kind of climate resilience and the research and practical applications of that. So first, for people that don't know, Forestry England was initiated in 1919. You maybe have heard the word Forestry Commission, and Forestry England is kind of a renaming and kind of separated off from Forestry Commission. Forestry Commission deal with other things, but Forestry England is looking after the UK's, well, England's forests and woodlands since after the First World War and the Forestry Act to preserve and develop and manage the forest. So we've got over 1,500 woods and forests with we get about close to 363 million visitors per year, which is incredible. And it looks after the landscapes. It works on a 100-year planning program. It works beyond our lifetimes. It's looking to sustain the forests and to intersect with human and non-humans to support people to face respond to the challenges that we face in society. But it's also looking at the climate challenges, biodiversity crisis. It's looking at how and sharing and helping understanding around storing carbon, reducing flooding, and as we know, forests are fundamental to cooling urban environments, and we need them for wildlife habitats. But we're thinking beyond lifetime so that the nation's forests can survive into next century. The multidisciplinary arts program has been running since 1968, and it plays a key role in rewilding imaginations, as we say, but it really functions through collaboration and partnership, research and engagement, and brings people together in all areas of the work at the intersection between science, design, biodiversity and ideas. I'll share some links throughout this talk when I get a moment, but we've got some incredible materials on the Forestry England website around climate action, our agenda around that. And I have been managing multiple programs there, including the development of a book around the contemporary art of science and forest that will come out this year, co-directing Earth Photo, that's in collaboration with the Royal Geographical Society, and mostly I'm currently PhotoWorks director, and that's an international platform for photography, established in 1995, and it's there for the development of photography and related media. We organise exhibitions, residencies, awards and publications, and we have a photography biennale, and we're a charity as well, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Thank you, Louise. Back to you, Raphael. I was reading the article from published in the Washington Post a few months ago, of which you have published your project on deforestation. The article was written by journalist Terence McCoy, which says, for many in Manaus, a city of 2.2 million cut off from Brazil's main highway system, the road symbolizes something close to freedom, a lifetime that connects them to the rest of the country and paves the path towards development. This has been the sentiment that has led many to want to cut trees. I thought it was pretty strong, which is kind of related to what you were saying before. So do you agree with this sentiment, and what do you think it should be the best way to accommodate locals' needs to feel free and connected with the rest of the world, and with the need to protect trees?
Well, I completely disagree with the idea that progress is advancing wildly through the forest. Uh, the forest not only supports the local population, but the rest of the world and the ecosystem, as well as the Pantanal, the polar circles, the oceans, and the Southeast Asia, as you the forest in Congo. But it has a role for the planet. So there is this very strong propaganda in Brazil, especially in our region, so that the road to the BR 319 is paved. During the pandemic, for example, when people were dying here because we went completely out of oxygen during the second wave of the pandemic, local politicians were saying, "Oh, if we had the road, that would not have happened. Look what's happening." But I mean, don't they have planes? Don't they have helicopters? And they were not able to see what was coming because people were saying after the first wave of the pandemic, you're gonna we're gonna face a shortage of oxygen. And this is part of the propaganda. Now, last year, we had this longest and strongest drought ever in the Amazon rivers, and people are saying, "Oh, we are not able to travel because the rivers are really dried up. So we need the road." And I completely don't agree with that. But you see, local leaders such as congressmen, CEOs of big companies, they just seem to think of their own interests. I don't believe that. As I said, I don't believe that paving a road that has been torn up in the forest and then abandoned by the government is going to bring any progress here. There's a very important data. When you see the road, it connects Manaus to the southern region, passing by Porto Velho, which is the capital of Rondônia, which is one of the states that has been mostly deforested in Brazil. And there is this phenomenon that we call the fish spine, which are the roads that start to appear when you have a main road. And this fish spine now is 5 or 6 times longer than the road itself. So what the road has brought to us is just deforestation, just problems with that. And even in the article, Terence said, we interviewed a scientist called Lucas Ferrante, and he said, maybe another pandemic or other health problems come by this deforestation. So it's a very deep question because it's related to the climate change, but it could be related to many other phenomena around the world by not having respect with nature. And I mean, we are in the 21st century. I think technology has advanced a lot. Is that the only way to connect? I mean, there are trains where why not build this road like above, like a big bridge, so the forest can continue breathing and living. But no, I guess we have to state that this deforestation is actually an industry. First, they cut off the very good wood that they have here, the expensive wood. There is this work from the Greenpeace called Silent Crisis in the Amazon, released in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, or 2015. And it says exactly what you said, that a big part of Europe is buying the deforestation, and most of this wood goes to Netherlands, Belgium, I think Luxembourg, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe Spain or France, I'm not sure. But they start by taking the wood. Then they set fire on it, on the forest, and they grab the land illegally, of course, using violence. I can show some pictures of the road. And when I was there, Terence and I even found the body of a person who was killed by one of these illegal land grabbers. So it's interesting because the climate change, of course, I think it's the most urgent situation. But with deforestation, diseases, health problems, and also violence and other things like people that had to leave their lands, like indigenous and traditional people, because of deforestation and the violence that it's applied to get this deforestation done. And after they put fire on the forest, they start sometimes the soy fields that also reaches Europe, and the cattle, because the meat, of course, and also leather. There's this interesting article in the New York Times, I think it's from 2022 or 2021, about this big car companies like BMW, the huge ones, they are using leather from the cattle in the Amazon. And this leather, of course, is a result of the deforestation in the region. So, I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a specialist, but I think that there must be another way. There must be another way that's not deforesting the region. And unfortunately, we just lived 4 long years with the last government from Brazil, and they were like supporting it very much. I guess this road, the BR 319, was just like the Trans-Amazonia, which comes from northeast to the Amazon and connects to the BR 319. They treated the BR 319 just like they treated the Trans-Amazonica during the military government. The last government wants a road to say, oh, I'm bringing progress. I'm cutting through the jungle and bringing progress to that people. And unfortunately, as I said before, I guess that people here hasn't understood yet the importance of the forest standing. And lots of people in the region, in Amazonas state, in Manaus, the capital, even people inside the university and in big companies and in public organs, there are lots of people that support this idea. Even the local newspapers support these ideas. The biggest TV broadcasting company here also supports and even has lots of advertising in the television in special times during the day. So I guess it's a problem that we must face, but I'm sure that scientists and leaders all around the world can find a way to attend the needs of people here from here and keeping the forest standing. I think there must be a way to do that. I hope this.
Well, to be honest, I think that we need to review the idea of progress. You know, what do we mean by progress? Because if by progress we mean all that happens in the economy as we know it, this capitalistic society, then obviously because the Western society has done it, then the other countries coming after, they see the progress as that type of progress and development. So if we start to show them where that kind of progress has led us, so maybe actually you can be the leader in changing in different ways, in like creating new types of progress, because there is, I think, a need for local people to say that our progress is having a connection with the rest of the world. I mean, that's an individual need for local people, but then there is a collective need. So how can you tell these people that there is a global problem whereby everyone has advantages of having a rainforest very strong and, you know, being there? Well, there are local needs and there are global needs, and there is this economy that keeps spreading all around the world, bringing just problems everywhere. But it's such a big topic. But again, I think is a theme a little bit about, you know, education, communication, and expanding on this idea of what progress means, probably.
Sure, yeah, that's perfect what you just said, because people haven't understood yet the progress idea here. We are living in a part of the world in which our economy depends a lot on other countries. Actually, it's ruled by other countries. So I cannot accept that people understand as a progress to have job from a land grabber, a legal land grabber says, oh, you're going to stay there and you're going to look for this land for me and I'll pay you. But this very simple people that sometimes accept this, they are also expelled from these lands later with violence too. And what is progress when you have indigenous and traditional people like quilombolas and other traditional people being expelled from their lands that they have been occupying even before the Europeans arrived in the Americas. So this is not progress. I only see violence. And as I told you, this is an industry, and these people, they have these lands, and these lands also work as corridors, for example, for other illegal activities like mining, which is also destroying the forest, deforesting a lot the Amazon. And with the illegal mining, the narcos also are using the structure from illegal mining with their equipment for internet, their illegal airports, and their illegal ways, their illegal roads, and even for hiding people who, a criminal, a narco that has escaped from jail or is being searched by police officers, they're hiding inside this garimpos, we call it garimpos, the illegal mining regions. And the violence is growing really, really quick. So it's just very scary. I cannot understand progress with this portrait that we see in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Cool, thank you. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about, but we need to go on. Louise, in my understanding, Forestry England mostly deals with the reforesting, correct? Could you show us some projects you have delivered that you are able to measure maybe the impact and involve people in educational projects, educational campaign, awareness campaigns? What message or what visuals, in your opinion, we should be talking with people in order to be effective in communicating also with the topic of afforestation or deforestation or reforestation in Europe?
Yeah, I mean that's am I not on mute, am I? Yeah, that's a huge question, and I kind of wanted to talk about it through showing some images and some slides about what Forestry England is, so you can kind of, our audience here can kind of understand the breadth of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
The Contemporary Arts Programme sits as a strand in between all the layers of Forestry England. Forestry England manages the land, it supports reforestation, it supports timber production as well locally in England, and also it is recreational as well, and so it supports habitat protection and biodiversity, and it works in lots of collaborative ways with multiple partners around the country. So it looks after forests for multiple reasons, but on lots of different levels, as well as kind of climate science, and there's forest research, which is a separate but connected entity that has researchers that look at looking at climate data and looking ahead into the future into what kind of ecosystems will be sustainable, and preempting that and planting now for the future. So kind of really working beyond our lifetimes. The Forestry England has a great strategy that's available on their website called Growing the Future. So if anyone wants to go and have a lovely read of that, you can kind of get more details than what I'm representing today. But broadly, it kind of works out into kind of a multiple kind of areas of focus, where we're looking at wildlife, people, the climate, and also kind of there's a great targets and plans for real practical establishment of wild areas by diversification. They're planning kind of like at least 6,000 hectares of wild areas to be created, working together with protecting ancient woodlands, developing open habitats and wetlands. So forests aren't just forested areas; they're whole ecosystems of heathland and bogs and areas of special scientific interest, and it works across landscapes that are, urban spaces and places that are transected by road networks, as well as working together with National Trust and Historic England and other organisations that work across. So we are an ecosystem within its own right, organisationally, but also as a driving force to kind of create new woodlands and support people to feel that forests are safe spaces to enter into, and really work at dispelling the myths around supporting people to enter into forests often for the first time, as well as people who are already inducted and understand how to enter in and be a good visitor in a forest space. But building empathies and supporting people to understand the dynamics of a relationship with nature, where we've really been so separated for so many generations now, is really a big focus for our organisation. But as you can see, all the other points on here. So we understand the benefits of the forest, but not everybody does, and that's a way of supporting people to understand. As individuals, as organisations, we work with obviously we're supported, we're a government body, but also have some independence within that. So we receive funding, but we also create our own incomes through timber production and other recreational means as well. But it's the arts programme intersects all of that, and it works as a way to support and articulate a really multidisciplinary programme of commissions, of research programmes, of ways of working. So it's we're talking about images, but we're also talking about helping people to be participants as well, to have this first-hand, really essential and important participatory experience with nature and the land, through engaging with artists' ideas, but also through becoming producers, makers, and visitors themselves. So a lot of the work ends up inevitably being site-specific and physically engaging, like this marshmallow laser feast installation, where you could enter into the eyes and become feel the sense of being a bee or a dragonfly, and kind of really intersect with what it feels like to be an insect in a forest space, and that's toured all over the world since it was commissioned at Grizedale. But it's a way to support people to physically enter into the forest spaces, but also we work on lots of different levels. We work internationally, work digitally, and support people to think about not just representing the forest, but what does the forest mean, and kind of lots of different reasons for kind of interrogating that. So we have sculpture trails all over the country. So Grizedale is one of the largest and most established, and that was set up since 1968. So it's one of the first engagements with art for Forestry England. But there's sculptures all over the country, interventions, studio spaces, residency opportunities, and other kind of research programs.
I'm just curious, Louise, just 1 second. I'm just curious to know, no, sorry, maybe you're going to talk about it now. Do you measure some impact on these activities over time, even just in terms of perception, or how people change their ideas about the topic over time? Do you have an impact program in place?
Yeah, not only for the arts program, but for the forest for Forestry England as a whole, as an organisation. So the arts program is one small part of a really big organisation. So but yes, certainly that's some of the aims of some of the projects, that's a research agenda to see the practical, physical, psychological, whether it's well-being, whether it's perception, whether it's a sense of whether it's the first time, like I said, entering into a forest, and what that impact has had on that person. So when we've done work with organisations like Flock Together, where and that's specifically for it's around bird watching for people of colour, but it's an act, so curating walks for people who may not have been to a forest before, to enter into the forest in a supported way. And we curate performances en route. We support people who are photographers. We support people who are there was a comedian. There was beat poet, there was and there were photographers and video makers. So really interdisciplinary and supporting people to kind of enter into so facilitating access, but gathering information and support, and really kind of having a sense of the impact of this kind of work is gives material to move forward and find resources to continue it on. So our wellbeing program, for example, we're looking at collaborating with between art and our other programs to using new technology and potentially AI to determine how long people stay in the forest, where their eyes travel. So people would sign up to this kind of research, and we would look at their dwell time in exhibitions such as Earth Photo, which this is an image from, and their heart rate and other things. So we get a real sense of a real physiological sense of the impact of we presume a calming effect, or kind of how they feel about being in the forest and entering into our spaces and exhibitions as well. Earth Photo is one of the key programs that we work with photography around, and that has a deadline the 22nd of February, like I said, and that's an incredible opportunity to share climate engaged projects, and we prioritize works that have a strong narrative or documentary focus, and make a selection. This year there were, or 2023, there was 56 photographers and filmmakers selected, and they've gone on this tour, multi-venue tour. So some of the exhibitions are outdoors in forest spaces, so audiences who wouldn't ordinarily go to a gallery space encounter artworks and documentary projects in films and photography that they can engage with climate focused stories from all over the world, and that has incredible impact, and people are quite quick to respond and share their responses with us as well. But certainly evaluating the impact of this kind of work is an ongoing challenge, whether financially, physically, and practically to receive that information. So we position some of these artworks in forests where we don't have people every day looking after them. So we have to find ways to incentivize people feeding back from us. But on the occasion where we have a research grant and we're able to really delve into understanding and putting a structure around gathering those impacts, then we certainly do.
Okay.
This is an incredible project that's up at Dolby Forest, and this is the early days of when it was being installed. It's called the Forest Eye. So it's a living forest monumental land artwork, which was created out of 5,000 beech alder and maple trees in the heart of Dolby Forest. It's like 300 meters wide, and it's an eye visible from the air, and it's really focused around with kind of the artists were Sand in Your Eye, and there was an installation to support young people to build up forest empathies. They planted the trees, they understood the kind of the research around what the project was about, and the legacy of this is gonna last on into generations, and it's gonna take many years for it to grow, but it's an incredible place. They have 450,000 visitors per year, and that obviously increases when you have people supporting them to have their hands on the ground and in the land and planting directly the forest, and that gives us hope for the future generations to have some practical experience and care for the future of our forests, isn't it? So I'm going to go a bit quick because our time is tight, isn't it? But I mean, do check out Forestry England. It's an incredible organisation. There's a whole range of opportunities to get engaged with so many forests all around the UK, and really essential to see the kinds of work that we do, but also see the opportunities to engage as creatives as well.
Cool.
So,
thank you, Louise.
Yeah.
Thank you. Raphael, back to you. Based on what we were saying before about the fact that Europe is actually responsible for kind of 80% of the deforestation through the use of and consumption of the commodities we talked about, such as soy, palm oil, beef, etc. Having this in mind, what do you think is the message that from the Amazon can be delivered to Europe, and how your projects, your gaze, your vision, and your knowledge about the place can convey a powerful message?
Well, I think we should start this message to local people, because we have to face and understand the scenario that we created for ourselves. We cannot deliver a message to Europe if we don't listen to ourselves here. And there's this book called The Falling Sky, with the Albert, the anthropologist, and the indigenous leader, David Kopenawa. He always says that the world is alive, so it cannot be owned. And there's this part, very specific part of the book that I like very much, that they describe why the name is of The Falling Sky. In the Yanomami indigenous people culture, the Yanomami are the ones who keep the sky in its place. With their death, the sky would fall, which would be the end of nature and everything. And he says that when all the shamans have died, I think the sky will fall. The forest will be destroyed and the weather will be dark. If there are no more shamans to hold up the sky, it will not stay in place. White people are just ingenious, but they ignore shamanism. They are not the ones who will be able to hold up the sky. Not only the Yanomami are going to die, but all the white people too. No one's going to escape the falling sky. And at some point, looking at the scenario that we created to ourselves here, the insiders, the people who live here, we are facing terrible heat. For example, I was talking to my friends a little bit earlier, and we should be under very heavy rain in January, but it's as hot as August. We don't understand why is it not raining. And we just came out of the longest and largest drought that I mentioned with fires. We have been breathing smoke from August to October, 3 months a year, breathing smoke because of the forest, the forest fires, the illegal forest fires. Can I show some of the pictures of the scenario? Yeah, please. Yeah. So this is a very portrait of Manaus. It's one of the main forests inside Manaus. It's called Forest Manaus. And every time the city, without any planning, is forcing the green to be settled in that part, like a fence in between them, but the city is invading the green spaces here. It's about deforestation, some pictures of deforestation. This one specifically is in the report from the Greenpeace. Another one, this all used to be forest, illegal logging. This is all along the BR 319, the cattle. You see that the forest is really far away in these pictures. The violence, I'm sorry to show that, but person who was shot to death. These are the fires from last year. So we start with the fires in the forest. Firefighters working to avoid the fires, but they are too short. Very few people to work against the illegal fires. So it's a problem. So we start to see landscapes like this ones, and it started affecting people who live by the forest and then the city itself. This is Manaus. We cannot see 10 meters away because of the smoke. This is the bridge over Rio Negro. You cannot see the other side of the bridge because of the smoke. The heat, the problems of breathing. We had to go back to the masks as in the pandemic. That's a trauma because the pandemic hit us really hard in 2020, 2021. And when we were released of the masks, then once again, we had to wear it back. This is the gold mining, illegal gold mining, the garimpos. You can see this is the Mucajaí River in the Yanomami land. It's completely contaminated. There's no life in this river. And most of the Yanomami people who are facing this humanitarian crisis now, they're dying from malaria, dengue, liver diseases, and of the violence, of course. So it's been a problem. This is the illegal miners living the indigenous land. This is how the Yanomami people are arriving from their lands with terrible diseases. This is a woman. And this is the capital of Manaus. Because of deforestation, there was this article from yesterday in the Financial Times say that the drought and the flood that we lived in the last years, they are the result of deforestation. And that's what you see in Manaus, the garbage in the flood, in the rivers. This is during the flood. And last year, during the drought, thousands and thousands of animals like dolphins and fish died in the rivers because the water got so acid that the fish died.
Sorry, can I
This
ask you
is-
a question while you go through these images?
Sure.
These kind of images are published also in Brazil, or it's just like going to other countries?
No, they're published in Brazil. They're published in big newspapers here. I work for an agency from Spain called EFE, but EFE distributes the work also to Brazilian and local newspapers. And the local press is photographing that, but it's crazy because you see the front page of the newspaper saying that we are living the worst drought ever. And by its side, we say, let's build the road inside the forest. That's the forest to bring progress in the same newspaper. So propaganda and journalism together. But I mean, people are just like in the song from Pink Floyd, they're comfortably numb. They don't understand, they're not feeling it, but it's happening. No.
Well,
You see, during
I think it's also something that happens all around the world, that when people see very scary and very big and very untangible actions that you can have to see the impact on the weather, on the climate, is people tend to step back or to be numb, as you're saying. You know, it's just like it's not easy to understand the connection of the things. What should I do about it? You know, and again, even if in the same newspaper there is an evidence of a direct connection between what's happening in the deforestation, and the next page is written that we need to develop and become, you know, more developed if we build roads, then there is a problem, of course, but it's a problem of communication, very likely.
Yes, it's really difficult. So first we need to deliver this message to local people. So local people, because sometimes I have this idea that people from abroad, they think, oh, people from there, they have this message. Everyone there is worried about deforestation. No, there are people here that also support that. So we must deliver this message locally, so we can be able to deliver a message to the world as insiders. That's the point, and that's difficult to find this message. If I had just one thing to say to the people from here, is that every single act of consumption, whatever you eat, whatever you buy, and especially what you are consuming as information, you have to be aware on where does it come from, who is writing, who is producing it. So I've been trying myself to understand where my work is being published, or what I'm doing with the work, where does my food come from, where does the clothes I'm wearing come from. So I guess this, as you said, we cannot scare people. We cannot make people think that, oh, it's so difficult to stop that. No, I think we have to find a way to tell people that small acts can make a huge impact if they are collective. That's what I think.
Yeah, this is that's the most powerful message that can be delivered, I think, but also needs to be accompanied by specific actions, because it's very difficult for an individual to see that your single action, they don't see the direct impact on the climate. So it's difficult for people to say, I have to make myself more uncomfortable, I have to reduce my consumption of X stuff, because even if I do it, either I see other people keep going on with their lives, or I don't see the direct results of my my actions. This is one of the main issues, probably. And thank you very much for sharing your Very, very interesting work, very powerful work. I think we have to go really fast. Probably I will go with I don't know if we can go over. I think we have 3 minutes left. Maybe we go with Louise. What do you think about how do you think a creative direction and social innovation should really evolve to use contemporary photography to really change things?
Yeah, I wish there was a good answer to that. I'm not sure if there is yet, but we will try our best, isn't it? I think art could and should be useful, and it can be very impactful. I'm really interested in the work of Arte Util, for example, kind of the usefulness of art, and rather than thinking about it as a tool or a device, it's a way of thinking and a way of imagining and creating. I think we need to be better citizens. We need to support people to be better citizens. We need to shake up the model of what the gallery space is used for and how it can function. We need to shake up the model of how we're supporting and commissioning visual producers, especially in photography, and support people to engage with the artworks. And I really appreciate the work of Ursula Beimann, for example, you know, in the way that it collaborating with indigenous communities to create a working with film and photography in collaboration to look at landmark legal cases to bring the forest to court and plead for the rights of nature, for example, co-creating a biocultural indigenous university, and long-term projects that really support and develop an eco-centric worldview, and supporting further research, and how we do that in, you know, the current funding system within the UK is a challenge, but you know, where there's strong efforts, there's a way, and certainly we take that into the work that we're doing in Forestry England and into photo works as well. So how do we become better ecological citizens is what I leave us all here with today. But you know, we're working forwards on that, and hopefully come and check in on our programs, and you can engage on that journey with us. We do have a summit on the 12th and 13th of March next year at Fabrica. This year, actually, this year started 12th and 13th of March, in a couple of months' time. But check out the photoworks.org.uk website for that. But yeah,
thank you. Thank you, Louise. I think we are spot on 6 o'clock. I think I will end it here, and I'll open to the questions. Paul, if there are some questions you want to ask or bring.
Yeah, we have got some photographs. Some questions. So from Santi Poza, is Lula doing anything about deforestation as the news said? Actually, is the government in Brazil taking any actual action? And I'm going to link to that one as well. A question from Ted Ostrovsky saying that Salgado's images and stories seem to suggest the rainforest is returning and all is well. And obviously all the work he's done with reforesting his own family's land. But the question is that message helping or hurting the climate issue in Brazil? In other words, you know, should we be optimistic because good things are happening, or are they just a drop in the ocean against a much broader sort of negative impact? So I don't know. Rafael, what are your impressions of what the current administration, the new administration, is doing, and then projects like Salgado's? Are they actually helping in any substantial way, or are they kind of window dressing or sticking plasters?
Well, as Maria Teresa has addressed in the beginning, the numbers of deforestation in Brazil have dropped. They have decreased. On the other hand, what we feel living here it's that the situation, the climate, the weather, everything is getting worse. And I guess that we cannot only look at the Amazon from the point of view of a satellite, because all this data come from São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, the biggest cities in Brazil, but many people just don't come here. And what I feel is that people don't understand basic things. For example, last year, we're photographers here. There's this friend of mine, he's watching us, Bruno Kelly. He's a photographer from Reuters too, here in the region. And other photographers from France Press, from the Washington Post, New York Times here, working here. We had some times to explain to people that the numbers in deforestation have decreased comparing to years that had passed. But the fact is, at least like 100,000 fields of football pitches are being cut off every single month in the Amazon still. So that's very scary data. Last year, during this terrible time we had here with the smoke and the fires, we also had to explain that people said, oh, but the situation in the Amazon is getting better. Yes, but the Amazon is very complex. It gets huge parts of Brazil, and it's not only in Brazil, it's in other countries. 60% of it in Brazil, and the biggest portion of the Amazon forest is the Amazonas state where I live. And we are facing this problem, and people just didn't want us didn't want to publish our work just because they had this official data. But the official data is code. You have to be in the forest to understand the forest. You have to come here. It doesn't mean that outsiders are not welcome. No, of course not. We want people to come here and show what's going on. That's very important. But what we do not need and what we do not want is people, even insiders, that behave like they're watching something that is apart from the world, that's not part of the problem. That's what we do not need. And about Sebastião Salgado, I respect his history a lot, but as I said before, we must know where does from where does our projects from, or the information that we are consuming come from. So, for example, Salgado has received a lot of funding from companies that cause one of the worst tragedies, actually one of the worst crimes in Brazil, in Brumadinho and Mariana in southeast Brazil, where this mining companies that collapsed and killed lots of people and polluted lots of rivers and destroyed the vegetation of that area. So, I mean, I hope he's helping, but as spectators of of his work and other photographers' work, we have always to question who is publishing that, how is it being funded, and how is it being delivered to. So that's a very complicated topic. He's a very well-respected photographer, but I have a few questions that I haven't found answers yet from his work.
You leave us like that. It's an important thing. It's very important, the fact of who publishes, but I think also the variety of the messages that need to be delivered to so many different people with a different background, with a different political view, require also different languages, messages, channels, distribution. And so I think everyone helps as long as the message is coherent with what it needs to be said. I think there is space for everyone to deliver a strong message as long as it goes, you know, in the direction of being good citizens and try to reduce the impact of each of us, despite the personal likings or not of some projects, I think.
Of course, yes.
So Dominique, sorry, just got the name here. Dominique Campbell is asking Raphael if it's okay to share some screenshots of today's session on social media, because she's been enjoying the session. So I hope that's okay with you to do that. But yeah, nice to ask. But nice to ask, of course. And then Mirko Petrovic has a question or a request, actually. He's saying that there is the second Journalism Film Festival, which is being hosted by a grassroots advocacy group called Inkstain Wretches, is asking for submissions for journalism in the face of environmental crisis. So if you have any recommendations for films or suggestions to do that, that would be great. I guess you can put those into the chat. And also, I believe that there's a link earlier on that Louise had posted, I think, if I saw that, about a film, call for films as well. Is that right, Louise? Did you post? Yeah.
Film and photography, Earth Photo. Yeah.
Earth Photo, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we've got that support as well. But some very positive response from people saying great work. Raphael, of course, as always, and people working on similar projects, which is great to hear. And our photographs from Hungary accepted, Louise, in that project.
yes, we're open to everyone all over the world with the Climate Engage project.
Amazing.
All on the website. Yeah, lots of
There is
awards.
a comment in the, sorry.
Go ahead.
Now there is a comment in the chat that says, I'm from a country where the environment is so dirty that there is no house without cancer. This is from Shamal Izamadin. I think this is one of the biggest issue in terms of communication of climate change. No one yet is starting to feel, talking about the direct impact on humans' health, you know, as we keep talking about CO2, which is bad and is bad for the planet. But one of the main issues, and I think what should be the focus of the communication of climate change, is the impact on human health. And there are evidence, there is science that demonstrates that there is a direct impact, but it feels like the main media, they don't want to talk about it. There are some projects that talk about it, but if the communication was going to be focused on that, I think people will really change, because even the pandemic has demonstrated that if you tell people you are in danger of dying, in 2 seconds you wear mask, you don't leave home, you actually change your life. While and today even there are still in the world people dying more for air pollution the whole people that have died for COVID. So this is never treated as an emergency. And this is why we cannot wait for governments to lead this kind of communication. And I think whoever works with photography or has the responsibility to talk about these climate issues, we need to actually start to research and to deliver that kind of message, because it's the one that will be more appealing to people and will actually start to change some habits.
I think Ted followed up on his questions about Salgado. Just more of a comment, I suppose, or kind of a question. But you know, he just countries like Brazil and he's in Western Canada, where they had unprecedented wildfires, but it didn't make the mainstream news agenda. Only wildfires in the US are of concern. So how do we get the world to see it as a global issue rather than localized or regional ones? Because these things obviously have global impact. I guess that's the $64,000 question really that we're trying to answer. How do you make the local global, and indeed the global local? But any thoughts, Louise, perhaps from your experience of how to broaden the message out to get it to beyond the stereotypes or beyond the very obvious?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some really successful examples of that, but you know, I understand the power of taking, you know, projects like Earth Photo around as many sites as was listed there. There's 8-9 venues across the UK and internationally, and taking messages to people. But it's so difficult to pitch it right without becoming panic-stricken that, you know, people's mental health is very fragile at the moment. Anxiety is high. People quite fearful of the future economically, socially, and you know, there's how to motivate action with a positive dimension around becoming better citizens, or more you know, supporting people to rewild themselves, or becoming more climate conscious and responsible for what they consume and how they act as producers. It's such an enormity of a challenge, which I can, you know, within our little lifetimes, we can kind of see some small shift change around, but it's really an emergency. So how to support people to understand that is, people don't understand until it literally directly affects them often. You can see it happening from afar, but it's when people are lose their homes, or the land. We've worked with photographers working in across Bangladesh and documenting people whose land is literally disappearing, or the Maldives, or you know, our preamble at the beginning, we're talking about how we can directly witness climate change through the temperatures that we're witnessing at the moment, but and the number of storms that are passing through. But people are feeling it physically, but what to do in order to kind of slow it down and make change. But as we know, the entities that are doing the largest amount of damage are you know, the large companies that really need to be tackled. and artists can find ways to communicate and intersect with politics, but and large economic entities. But no, I don't have any super answer to that. But we can see that we're making efforts forward, and the great number of, well, especially in the UK anyway, there's a number of new courses within universities, people, and there's ecological citizenship within schools. It's starting from kind of roots up, but you know, it's going to what to do. We're all facing this collective challenge, aren't we? And finding a way to work forward through it and make what we do effective and useful in that situation is an ambition.
Maybe Raphael, maybe the last word from you then on this. I mean, obviously you work in Brazil, but you have agencies in Europe, America. How much of your work gets recognized outside, and what kind of interest is there? Do you feel like it's once in a blue moon, or is there a consistent, persistent interest in the work that you're doing?
Well, no, yeah, it's like one step in the moon. It's just like that said.
Yeah.
Sometimes last year we faced this problem. People, "Oh, that's a local issue. We are not going to publish that." And we had to explain a lot to many people what was going on. And I have just something to say about that. I think it was Elliot Erwitt that said that photography cannot change the world, but it can show the world changing. And if I before this seminar happened, when I was talking to Maria Teresa, it was a great learning curve to myself, and I do agree with her. We cannot treat photography anymore as, oh, it's a snapshot. It's not going to work like that. Oh, I took a photograph, look at it, and now you're gonna change. It's not going to work like that. We have to change the point of photography, for example, and other ways, journalism itself, and anything we need to make people understand the how deep is the question about climate change. I think we have to turn it into a political act. In the sense that we have to gather forces, we have to unite forces and understand that photography or any message you want to deliver is just part of it. As Maria said, when people see an emergency happening like the COVID times, oh, you cannot leave home, so, oh, I'm going to die if I leave home without a mask, so I'll do that. But sometimes people, most of the time, people are looking at the climate change situation, and they're thinking that it's not happening. And we are talking about the city here in Amazonas called Anaman, in which for 3 months every year, because of deforestation, because of all the damage that has been done to the forest, people have to leave their homes. So, oh, we are gonna see people migrating because of the weather, the climate. No, it's already happening. Climate change is already happening. We are living that everywhere in the world. With the Canadians, as Ted said, the Canadian fires, it's not only a regional topic, it's for everywhere. So I guess that if I could do something, what I'm trying to do actually is to make every message that I want to deliver with a single photograph is to become a political act. I think maybe that's a way.
Well, great. That's a great point to finish on. Maria Teresa, do you have any last comments? And we're right on the 1/4 time.
Well, there was a point from Mirko Petricevic, which I think is very important. I'll just say 2 words. He says that we are asked to move to a plant-based diet in order to reduce the carbon footprint. But then, you know, when we hear that the deforestation in the Amazon is mostly due to the cultivation of soy, then, you know, we have a problem. How do we do that? Because we consume a lot of soy around the world. I think this is the contradiction of the modern times. You know, it's like we haven't moved even close to being sustainable. We keep propagating this model, the capitalist model. The paradigm is exactly the same. What we have colored with green, saying that this is sustainable. So it needs, when we talk about climate change, it needs a cultural shift. Cultural shift means educating people even how to eat in order to be to be healthy, local, sustainable, not to be, buying food from the other side of the world, because that's not sustainable. And again, we keep talking about the carbon footprint. This is becoming like almost like the only meter to measure what is right and what is wrong. But there is a lot of things that even if you reduce the carbon footprint are not good for human health. So it's, as Luis was saying, it's so complex. There isn't one answer, but definitely from my point of view, because the situation is so complex, we need to work together. Photographers are very important. Artists are very important to deliver a powerful message to people, but they cannot work alone if they don't study, if they don't work with the scientists, if social innovators are not involved, if festivals are not involved, if public space, educators, everyone needs to work together in order to convey a powerful message that will give people also solutions. Because I don't know, Paul, if you remember when we were doing these talks with the climate visuals, they through the learning they got from their research, it's very important to show people that there are solutions to their, when we are asking people to do something, they can see the direct effect on their habits. So yeah, the solution is not as simple as a diet, plant-based diet or electronic cars. No, the solution is not so simple. That's exactly the continuation of the economical paradigm as we know it, but it's just called as sustainable. So it's I think the change hasn't started yet. So we are in a moment of history where whoever is involved, is interested, or has something to say, has I think a responsibility to do something, but we are a little bit the only way I see it, and that's what we're doing with Everything is Connected, is to work on a transdisciplinary approach.
Yeah, great point. Well, thank you all very much. Thanks to our panelists today. Wonderful session as always. Thank you very much for our audience as well and your great interactions. Big round of applause.
Thank you, everyone.
Real round of applause. I'm sure everyone else can be virtual. And we'll see you with the next one. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.